It is 6 o'clock.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome the members of council, staff, and members of the public to this public meeting to discuss the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and call this meeting to order. The details: the owner is 283292 Ontario Inc. The agent is Miles Weeks, Fortnum Planning and Design, Plan 14, Part Lot 29, known as 322 Eureka Street. This is a public information session held for the purpose of public engagement under the Planning Act with the public, council, and staff. During a public information session, no member discusses or otherwise deals with any matter in any way that material advances the business or decision-making of council. I'd like to ask Mrs. Pearson, please, for the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishinaabe. The town of Petrolia is located on lands associated with the Huron Tract Treaty number 29 of 1827. We express gratitude for the land where we live, work, and play, and we are committed to working respectfully with the land and the Indigenous peoples who have called this land home.
Thank you. Again, the purpose of this meeting is to afford the public an opportunity under the Planning Act to receive information relating to the proposed amendments of the Town of Petrolia zoning bylaw and provide input to town staff and council in relation to the proposed. It's an amendment to the Town of Petrolia zoning bylaw 63 of 2017 as it applies to lands municipally known as 322 Eureka Street and currently zoned Exception 3 to Residential 3 R3-3. The owner has requested that the site-specific R3-3 zoning be replaced to require a minimum lot frontage of 20.5 meters and to permit development consisting of 4 townhouse buildings containing 6 dwellings units each for a total of 24 dwelling units on the site, and there is an attached map. The proposed development complies with all of the provisions of the R3 zoning applicable to the subject lands. This meeting is specific to the application noted above. Any comments you wish to submit in relation to a draft plan of subdivision, subdivision agreement, or other item not related to the above application shall not be done only when it's appropriate to the specific application. Submissions off topic, not in relation to the proposed application, shall not be brought forward. If you require any clarification, please contact the clerk's office in advance for your submission or presentation during the meeting. At this time, I would like to introduce council. So on my far right, or my left, your right, is Councillor Hyatt. And then I have on my right, again, Councillor Clark, Councillor O'Hara, and Councillor Wells. I'll ask the clerk to introduce staff that are present, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I too will go clockwise. We have our Director of Marketing, Arts and Communications, Larissa Ellsworth, our Deputy Clerk, HR, Ms. Jessica Smith, our CAO Treasurer, Rick Charlebois, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Facilities, Julie Bullock, our Director of Operations, Mike Thompson, and our Senior Planner, Maria Cosa-Rosi, and I'm Mandy Pearson, your Clerk Operations Clerk.
Thank you. All right, as far as the notice, I'll ask the clerk if the proper notices were completed.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I can confirm that there was notice placed in the Petrolia Independent on January 17th and 24th for circulation. Email and mail to the required agencies took place on January 12th, 2024. Website and public notice postings were placed on January 10th, 2024. Traditional mail to the surrounding properties was issued on January 11th, 2024, and a sign posted on the property January 11th, 2024, thus satisfying all requirements under the Planning Act.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Cosa-Rosi, Senior Planner, for her report. If you'd come forward, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council, staff, members of the public, applicant and applicant's consultants. The application before you this evening is a site-specific rezoning request, which has purposes twofold. One is to increase the density of the townhouse dwelling units by 8 for a total of 24 from the previously approved 2022 rezoning that permitted a total of 16. And secondly, to permit a reduction in the required 30-meter minimum lot frontage to 20.5 meters to recognize the existing lot frontage of the property. The proposed development is to include 4 townhouse dwellings with 6 dwelling units each with garages and driveways. No street parking is proposed, and the minimum 48 parking spaces proposed, 1 in each of the garages and 1 in each of the driveways, exceeds the 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit minimum required in the zoning. Visitor parking is not required, but 4 additional on-site parking spaces are proposed. There is also a dumpster with enclosure proposed, along with the private road with private servicing, private waste disposal collection, and overall private site maintenance. There is also a green space play area in the center of the development being proposed. The zoning bylaw amendment, as requested, has planning merit because it is consistent with the provincial policy statement, county and town official plan policies, and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw. The recommendation presented by staff is that council approve the zoning bylaw amendment. 2 emails were submitted by members of the public, one of which was received this morning and is an objection. Staff would like to take this opportunity to address some of the concerns listed with the following comments. The drawing included in the planning report is a concept plan only, and the final layout, features, and overall development is to be submitted and reviewed through the site plan control process, only if the zoning bylaw amendment is approved. Staff would like to add that the site plan process is completed in consultation with the property owner, county and town staff from a number of departments. It is a balanced approach to ensure that the interests of all parties are appropriately addressed, compatibility with surrounding low-density residential areas, and then implementation of strategies to minimize the negative impacts from commercial and light industrial uses, all of which surround the subject property. The features addressed through the site plan process include, but are not limited to, buffering and screening around the entire perimeter of the property, including fencing, landscape strips and berms, sidewalks and pedestrian walkways, as well as paving, curbing, servicing, grading, and lighting. The following is a short summary of the responses received from the owner's consultant regarding the questions posed in one of the emails received by a member of the public. At this time, the units are intended as market-priced units and not purpose-built as a retirement-style community. Units will comply with the standards of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act to ensure accessibility is maintained for persons with disabilities and with older persons who may wish to reside there. There is no agreement in place with the town to subsidize the proposed units. And again, no street parking is proposed, and information regarding the site is noted by the owner. I would just like to end my presentation to go over again that it is staff's recommendation that council approve the zoning bylaw because it has planning merit and is consistent with all the legislation and regulations and policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you leave, council, do you have any questions regarding any clarification for the senior planner? Councillor Clark, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Just one question. Are these just like single-story units? Are they multi-story or?
The concept drawings that were provided show 2 stories at this time. The applicants are aware that there is a maximum 12-meter height in this area. So all other regulations that pertain to the R3 zone are complied with. The only 2 exceptions that they're looking for are the 2 previously stated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from council or any clarification? Okay, if not, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to acknowledge we did receive one submission in writing from Mr. Mark Cole. I just want to mention council has received a copy, and I believe they are being addressed through the senior planner.
And when you get to that part, Your Worship, I do have additional as well.
Okay, go ahead.
believe we're having some internet technical difficulties. If I can pull it up again. Okay. So as you noted, we did receive a previous submission from Mr. Mark Cole, and as council has noted, his outline was distributed through the council agenda, and council has that before them. We received a second item of correspondence to be included in today's meeting, which was received from Mr. Brandon Cadman, that as soon as my tablet cooperates, I will pull that up and display for council. There we go. I like when technology works. Okay. And so that, again, was received from Mr. Brandon Cadman, a neighbor of 322 Eureka Street. And I can't get the full PDF to pull up. I'm not sure why that is. Apologies to everybody while I get the technology to work. Click to open full PDF. There we go. To the Mayor of Petrolia Town Council of Petrolia and the Clerk's Office of Petrolia. This is a written objection of Mr. Brandon Cadman of 324 Eureka Street. My objections concern the application for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment under Section 36 of the Planning Act, the Town of Petrolia zoning bylaw 63 of 2017, as it applies to the property known as 322 Eureka Street. I object to the changes of the site-specific zoning of residential 3, exception RR3. Zone to permit 4 townhouse dwellings, with each townhouse dwelling to include 6 dwelling units plus proposed change in minimum lot frontages from 30 meters to 20.5 meters. Allowing any further saturation of the existing bylaws will, 1, this will create an even greater reduction of value to my R1 zone property at 324 Eureka Street, and 2, the increase of traffic and noise levels into and out of the proposed entrance exit from the private lane, which is already passed by council as I understand it. There has been no consideration given to the 2 existing properties of 320 Eureka and 324 Eureka to keep noise levels to anywhere close to the existing levels. This private lane that not only will need to accommodate the homeowners that come and go, but all the visitors and deliveries that will be passing very close to the bedroom windows of my children and myself. Item number 3, under the existing bylaw, council has allowed 320 and 324 Eureka Street to become corner lots without there being any mention of, and I'm sorry, that's where the correspondence cuts off, any mention of it to residents. It's attached for the minutes, Your Worship.
Good. So council will have a copy of that. Any questions regarding that from council? I think I'll also refer that to the senior planner for her comments too, if we can. Okay. You should come on up here if you wouldn't mind, please.
The concerns relayed by the abutting property owner will be dealt with through the site plan control process. The things that we are anticipating will be part of the discussions will be fencing over the entire perimeter of the subject property, and also looking at landscaping to ensure that there's compatibility with the low density residential units that abut the subject property. So those are a few of the considerations, and that will be addressed through the site plan process.
Great, thank you. All right, thank you. All right, at this time, I'll open it up to the residents present. Is there anyone here wishing to address council? To please come forward, state your name and address, and we'll certainly hear what you have to say. Okay. Come on up. Great. And just state your name and address, please, okay, for the record.
Name's Dennis Corbett. I'm at 326 Jacks Court. So we back on to that property. Yeah. And so my questions, obviously, you talked about the frontage. How far is the distance to the back from the townhouses to the fence line?
Oh, if I can see that. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes,
Okay,
I'll say 35 feet.
So, but it is something that will be, that will go through the site plan process, but all and that was so
Required. Okay.
okay.
Okay. Thank you for coming to address council. Anyone else present wishing to address council at this time? Come forward. Yeah, wait, yeah, come on forward, please. State your name and address. Neighbor.
Yeah, Gail Trombley. I'm speaking actually for my mother who lives at 320 Jocks Court. Just wondering if it does pass, when would this all start? Is there a timeline as to, like, would it start this year? Would it start?
First of all, I'll say the bylaw will be probably presented to council at its next meeting in February. Council will then approve the zoning bylaw. As far as the timelines, unless Mrs. Maria can speak to that, I'm not sure what the timelines are after that. Well, you're looking at a few months. I mean, there's as you said, an objection period, and then we have to go through a site plan. So I can't see anything happening for 6 months or more. So.
And would the residents get like the copy I see in my mom's sheet, and it was just like a square thing? Do they get an actual drawing of what it would be, like where the road would come in, where the properties, buildings would start?
I'm not sure if that's circulated, but it'll be certainly at council. But I would think if you wanted that information, we can make it available.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to address council at this time? Okay, Larry, come on forward, please. Neighbor again, state your name and address.
Worship, Council, Larry Garrett. I'm not backing onto any property. I'm not even close. I'm just here as a concerned citizen. And to my understanding, it's a private road. Going to be a private road.
Yes. Going
Okay.
in, yeah.
So then they got to dig up Eureka Street for a certain amount of time to tie in all the servicing. So there's no timeline there for how long the roads are going to be dug up and how much traffic's going to be rerouted to get by it. And then my other concern is it's an area of high water levels. Is there going to be something done to get rid of that water?
I'm aware, I think council's aware of the water problem in there too, but as part of the site plan agreement, they will have to deal with how they're going to look after the water, our storm water. So that will all be dealt with at a later date.
And maybe backyard catch basins?
I don't know if we got into that yet, but we could, something that certainly could be considered.
Yeah, because it's backing on to the neighbors that you're going to change the topography. So you want to get drainage there and you can't drain it off onto them. You have
Right.
to have,
They can't discharge it to the neighbor's property. They'll have to
No.
deal with the water.
I guess that's it. Be no concern for the taxpayers having to put any money into this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hopefully not.
No, they'll be responsible to tie in or do the work, and maybe Mr. Thompson can speak to that, but I'm not aware of any tax dollars that will be involved with this. Mr. Thompson, can you add to that?
Through your worship, yeah, there won't be any tax dollars to this. It would be on the developer to do the tie-ins and repair the road and what have you. And if there's any detours or lane reductions, we'll deal with it at that time. But I can't imagine there'd be too much disruption in the road area to do a tie-in and then potentially come back and do any sort of asphalt or curbing or what have you, so.
Thank you. You're all right. Another thing is this is a numbered company. We don't know the name of the company actually doing the construction or who's the engineer.
Well, we've got the planning, this Fortin Planning and Design, and it just says mild weeks. I'm not aware of the owner unless, Maria, you know who that is. Okay. To the planner. Okay.
Well, that's all I can think of. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garrett, for coming to address council. Anyone else at this time wishing to step forward? Please come forward.
The area already has a problem with drainage with this LCD. They did a parking lot routine and it has changed the amount of flow coming down, and the lower parts, the houses beside me, virtually get a lake in the back of in their backyard now. So obviously the concern is any further work we'd be very concerned about.
Yeah, we're aware of the water problem. There's no doubt about it. But I think they'll have to, with their engineers, convince council and the planning department that they're dealing with the water without affecting the neighbors. So that'll be dealt with I believe, the site plan agreement.
Okay. And when will we get further information as to how they get it handled, or?
Whenever, I guess, the site plan comes forward. I think the first thing, as Maria stated, the town has to approve the zoning bylaw before anything happens.
Right.
And that'll come forward at the council meeting at our February 20th council meeting. So after that, it'll be up to them and how fast they get the material to the planners and the information out. But you can certainly call, ask the clerk or ask the planner what stage are we at, or if they submitted any.
So we get statuses along the way.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So state your name and address, please.
Council. My name is Bonnie Hart, and we are 310 Eureka Street, and I think everybody is very familiar with us. You stated in the development a berm. It was presented to us that a berm will be built, but we are on the understanding the town is taking care of that, not them. When is this berm going to occur?
Mr. Thompson, can you speak to that?
Through your worship, that's two different properties. This property has to do with.
Yes, but
one.
she stated you were taking care of the berm?
Through your worship, the draft concept plan that was on the site does show that the applicants so again, the plan as posed in the plan bylaws
All right, because our property is highly affected. We are the ones that get flooded out. And this town has cost us, well, over 10 grand. We're redoing our basement again at this time. So I want to make sure this development is done properly, because we aren't done with this town yet. I can't even speak. I'm so ticked with the flooding that goes on. We couldn't even get a contractor in last year to fix our property because it floods so much. That's why this is a concern to us. I can't even speak anymore.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address council at this time? If not, I just want to mention that this bylaw will be prepared for council's approval or not approval on February the 20th, and we'll deal with it this time. And I'd like to close this meeting. Thank you.